Here's an idea you and I can use when we are faced with difficult times. We're certain, aren't we, in the course of our business life, to find occasions when things don't go quite as we planned. Well, this is the method that I use to get through those difficult times. Let me tell you a story. It was way back over 40 years ago, in fact. It was the 13th of May, 1980, when some friends of mine had invited me to go on a coach trip, which I don't normally go on, to Wembley Stadium to watch a football match. Now, I used to play a lot of football. I was a goalkeeper, but I certainly didn't go and watch football. It just wasn't my thing. But I gather it was going to be one hell of a day. We were going on this executive coach. There was going to be drinking, there was going to be eating, there was going to be laughing, there was going to be shouting, and we were going to watch this football match. It was a friendly, supposedly a friendly match between Argentina and the England team at Wembley Stadium. And playing on the Argentinian side was a young man who was just 19 years of age at that stage, called Diego Maradona. Obviously, since that time, became a very famous, world famous football player, probably famous for all things of the hand of God incident when he punched the ball into the England net in the World Cup. But I took something from that match, apart from the enjoyable day I had, and it was this, and I called it, and it's still called it in my mind today, the Maradona Principle. And there was one thing I noticed about this footballer. I mean, he was brilliant. I have to say, he would stick his foot up in the air and the ball would come across. You'd put it up. You'd think he had glue on his boots. And it was like, and he was away with the book. Just absolutely brilliant. There was one thing I noticed particularly was this. Every single time he got close to goal, somebody would push him or elbow him or shove him or trip him over. That always happened. And I thought about it afterwards and I thought, it's funny, isn't it? This is like life. Every time we get close to achieving the goal, scoring the goal, winning, things come along to say, are you sure? Do you really want this? Is this the way you want it to go? And so I know whenever things don't go well for me, and I've had a few occasions of those in my life, I refer back to that moment and think, the Maradona Principle. When I'm trying to score, that's when the world kicks you. Is it going to be the competition? Is it somebody working with you? Is it going to be the tax man? Is it going to be the economy? Is it going to be the government? Is it going to be the weather? Who knows what it is that's going to get in our way? But we can use the technique that's called reframing and reframe that incident in our mind, that occasion, that feeling, to change it so it empowers us rather than holds us back. So the Maradona Principle, and I'll give you a couple of examples of this, is quite simply, when things aren't going well, when you get kicked, metaphorically speaking, it's probably because you're going to try and score. After all, they don't normally kick the assistant referee who's running up the line with his flag, but you only get kicked if you're trying to win, if you're trying to score, if you're trying to get to the goal that you want. I've had occasions of this in my life. For example, many years ago, I sold a business that I'd built up over 5 years for a few £1 million. And unfortunately, the company I sold out to, its shares fell out the sky. It was a main board public company in London. Its shares fell out the sky and fell from £2.42 to 16p when I couldn't sell them because I was under a restrictive covenant in the first year of the earn-out. What was I going to do? Was I going to lie on the floor, writhing, wait for the train to come on with a damp sponge and stick it in my pants? No. Got to get up and do it again. I've got to reframe it. A friend of mine was complaining to me one day about his bank manager. And I said, what's the problem? He said, every Saturday morning, he said, I get a letter from him reminding that I owe him £20,000. And this was some years ago. I said, well, that's good news, isn't it? Of course, he knew I was crazy. Good news. I said, how do you mean good news? It ruins my weekends. I said, let's think of it in a different way. Let's reframe it. Let's look at the Maradona Principle version of this. Every Saturday morning, the bank manager sends you a letter to remind you that you're worth at least £20,000 and that somebody trusted you enough to lend you that money. Let him worry about it, not you worry about it. This is such a simple idea, like all great communication and personal development ideas. It's so simple, but I would urge you to take this away. If you're trying to score, odds are somebody's going to kick you. And that just reminds you you're on the right track because they don't kick the linesman. There's plenty more of my somewhat crazy videos about here if you've enjoyed this one. And in the meantime, I wish you every success in all your adventures in life. From me, Peter Thomson. Until the next one, when I'll have some more slightly off the wall ideas. Goodbye for now.